But trying to figure how to share this one would be good.
Mhm.
All right. Got it. I'm going to click it to live. We'll get started here. Got anything before we get started? Anything to be aware of? We're going to talk about the Azimuth Check.
Yeah.
Keep it on that. And then, kind of let it go where it goes. Probably about 30 minutes.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Let me get this thing live and then we'll get started.
Don't want to touch my face for fear of corona.
Yeah, right.
I live with 5 kids, man. I'm going to get it.
Oh, yeah, dude. I'm
It's coming.
You know it. You know it. All right. Hold on, let me put this title. We'll get going.
Yep.
Might be live right now. I'm just kidding.
Hold on. Let me.
I'm clicking go
winner.
live now, so we should get a countdown.
Yep.
I just started using the software, so I like it, but I'm not as familiar with it.
Learning curve.
Yep.
Live on Facebook, recording.
Okay. Are we live?
I think so.
All right. Yep, we are. Okay, so everyone who's listening to us talk, welcome once again to Boots in Transition. My name is Christopher Green, and we are going to talk with Ray Gilmore about the Azimuth Check Foundation. Before I jump into that, got to get my quick plug. I'm even wearing the t-shirt today. Military Home Base, if you can see it. Military Home Base is our sponsor and is a real estate company designs a nationwide program designed to help veterans and their families, active duty, prior service, retired, whatever, save money when buying homes through pre-negotiated incentives, working with companies to help veterans save money. What's available to you varies place by place, state law, and what's set up. But if you're military, former, prior, thinking about buying a home, even considering it, contact militaryhomebase.com. One of the really cool things is they're staffed by military spouses and military affiliated. And these are jobs that spouses take with them even as they PCS. So they're creating careers for mil spouses as well. So check them out, www.militaryhomebase.com, or on Facebook or any social media platform to find out. And that completes our plug. So, Ray, quick intro. So I met you. My first memory of you was Camp Funston. You were on Tarpey's team. And, you're clean-shaven, young captain. Made fun of my duck blind. You guys had a term for it, which was later adopted by everybody. When you're 80 men living in a bay, privacy is a great thing. And you were really into the show Nip Tuck. And that's my first memory is you gathering people to go watch Nip Tuck. I had no idea what it was, but you guys had a good team cohesion. And then that was where I met you. And then we lost contact as we do through as veterans. And then we recontacted through Brendan Tarpey. He did mine. We're talking about depression not long ago, and then we recontacted. And since then, you've been a real champion, not just for what I'm doing here, but also for I see how much you do for veterans. So you've got a couple things. We're going to talk about maybe different shows, talk about different things, what you're doing with VA, suicide, stuff like that. But right now, I want to talk about your nonprofit Azimuth Check.
Okay. Well,
so
tell
me what it is.
Azimuth Check. The catch line is heroes helping heroes find their way through challenging activities year round. So the idea is that get the guys, as Tarpey used to say, is out of the 6-inch box above your shoulders. So get them off the couch, out of their head, and find something that's going to force them to focus. For me, a big part of it was ski racing. If you're going down a hill doing 60 miles an hour and you make a mistake, your brain can't be somewhere else. You've got to be focused on what you're doing. And what it does is it gives you a quick mental break. So the idea behind Azimuth Check is that we partner with adaptive programs from Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, and we get veterans out on the hill, out on a mountain, fishing, deep sea, bass, you name it. We're looking at some whitewater kayaking trips this summer with another veteran. rock climbing as well as rappelling. So we try and take a lot of those skills that we used to have in the military and put guys into a situation where they'll be challenged, but at the same time forced to focus in on what they're doing, and that forced sense of awareness of where they are now, that focused, centered piece. It gives them an out, and the idea is that hopefully we introduce them to something that they will take home with them and continue and integrate into their life. I've got 4 to 5 different activities that I do throughout the year that keep me focused and keep me active and keep me outside, following multiple injuries. So you do jujitsu. You've got the old dogs, the military group that you started over there that online, that it's looking for that camaraderie piece, and you're finding it through sport. So whether it's a beer league skiing or softball or whatnot, the idea is to get veterans and enable them to get off the couch. That's the bottom line of it.
Okay, so what are some of the activities you guys do? Because I know I've seen the skiing. I know you're an avid
Yep.
skier, and I've never skied, but I really want to try it sometime. I've water skied, Florida, not a lot of snow
Yep.
skiing.
Yep.
But and I have, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of carryover, and why I think jujitsu is so great for, getting us out of that 6-inch box. Tell me about why. Tell me the benefits. If I've never been skiing,
Yep.
why would I want to try that as, I hate to use the word therapy, but, to get myself out there? Why is it, tell me in your words, what's so great about skiing? Why does that help?
The first part right off the bat for you is that you've never done it. It's going to force you out of your comfort zone. It's going to force you to sort of peel back the first layer of that onion. Are you comfortable? Are you on your couch? No, man. You're out in the snow from Florida. You're cold. You're in a big old heavy boot versus a flip flop. You're on a 3-inch long roller skate versus a pair of inline boards, inline skates down by the boat or the beach for you. So right away we take you out of your element and we put you somewhere different. The second piece of that is that, once we get you sliding on snow, there is a little bit of a weightless feeling and a falling feeling. So you're going to get that sort of emotional piece where the concept of sliding down a slope is going to be scary for you again. So again, we're pushing that comfort zone in a controlled environment with a coach that can coach you through it. And I'm pretty sure with your athleticism, I can get you through a 90-minute lesson without falling. And by that point, you're going to be turning and making you able to left, right, stop. Great. We can go from there. So we'll bring you up to increasing levels of difficulty, which will push your boundaries. And then once you're free of the learning area, so to speak, you're actually going to get up on the mountain. And it's an Ansel Adams photograph almost every time you're at the top of a lift, whether you're looking off into a back bowl, or it doesn't matter if you're in New York State. When I came back from Afghanistan the first time in 2004, I swore I was going to start ski racing again. In 2005, I was back doing it. It gave me an out. But when you're up on top of that mountain, it's the furthest thing from what we did in the box. There's no sand. It's all grass, or it's all green. It's, white ground. It's pristine. It's postcard. So that visual piece is going to pull you out of your head. As we progress further, you're going to start to get a little bit more athletic into it, a little bit more dynamic, and you start to get that adrenaline rush in a controlled dose. And one of the things that I dealt with when I came home was trying to find adrenaline whatsoever. I couldn't find it. Nothing matched being downrange. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden, you're looking down it doesn't sound steep at 20 degrees, but 20, 30 degree pitch covered with trees, and you refocus, but you're refocusing on something positive. You're recreating new memories. So my best days now are when I get to go ski with my kids, show them new terrain. We go powder skiing. We get to do that piece, and we get to explore as a family. So now we've grown from pushing your boundaries into an athletic activity where you're going to burn calories and making new memories with your family in a setting that's its own little chapel cathedral. No matter if you're spiritual or religious, you get up there and look at it and be like, wow, okay, this is something. It forces you to take that all in and take inventory of where you are.
I imagine it's a lot like when I was going through some of my worst depression phases. I would sit on the beach or go stand. I'm not actually, just stand where I'd watch the waves go out. And, when I was in Monterey, California, it was perfect for that. It's very hard to have a bad day when you're staring at the ocean. Yep. And, I was watching some videos just today, kind of getting ready for this. I was watching some GoPro footage of some guys doing some downhill skiing. And yeah, I don't see how you're going to be able to focus on the negative things in your life and in that environment going downhill. So it takes you out of the space. I think it's a lot like jujitsu, and I say that everything else kind of goes background,
Yep.
and then you get a period after that where you're actually out of that headspace. It comes back,
It
but
does. It sometimes it comes slamming back,
yeah,
but sometimes you creep back into it. So if you can go out and roll again, or if I can go make some runs, even if they're 2 or 3 runs, it pulls me back out. And if we can delay the time between drops back in,
hmm,
that's a positive thing. We're not looking for a cure. We're looking for a way to manage. We're looking for a way to get from day to day. I'm having a bad day. I'm going to go make a couple laps, and I'll go make a couple laps on the mountain. Not for a long time, 30, 40 minutes. But
yeah.
it's enough just to clear that headspace a little bit.
Yeah, so even when what I found was, even though it's going to come slamming back in, you get this moment where you're like, okay, maybe I can handle this because there are highs. I just experienced a high. I'm in a calm now. So as it starts to come back down, that's how you become a junkie for jujitsu. You're like, okay, this is my period or it's gone. So I'm just going to train constant. The bad side is I've constantly got somebody's elbow in my face or they're trying to, squeeze my lapels, or whatever and choke me out. But at the same time, I'll take that over some of the depressive thoughts. Now, I've never been much of an outdoorsman, but watching that GoPro footage, I was like, I could totally see how, gym rats outdoors, but I could see how that equates. So where are you guys located at?
So we're up in New Hampshire. Everybody's like, oh, great, that's part of Boston, right? And we're like, yeah, like 3 hours north of Boston. So inland from Portland, between Portland, Maine,
Hmm.
Burlington, Vermont, north of Boston, before you get to Canada.
So
Stop
how
till you
many
see the
months do
moose.
you actually get that you can ski there?
Last year was a very extended winter. It was almost 8 months of winter. We started skiing in 18 in October. So October, November, December, January, February, March, April, sometimes into May. So depending on how much you want to hike for it, but resort skiing is usually you can count on making lift service laps from October through May up in this valley.
Okay. So October to May, you've got skiing.
Yep.
And what are the other events that you guys have that you're doing?
So usually we throw off an ice climbing event mid-February. This year we had a mid-February thaw, and all the ice washed out, and then it started to plug back in, and we just washed out again. So ice climbing is another winter one. And then we also have a guy that teaches snowboarding, and then we do biathlon. So biathlon again is skiing, but it's on flat ground.
Okay.
So nice flat. Well, there's some rolly terrain, but the idea is you're going to do your loop, you come back in, shoot. So it's a stress shoot, same type of idea from the military. Get your 5 targets. If you miss a target, you've got to do a penalty lap for each target you miss.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
then you go make your next lap, and you make your next shots from either prone or standing. Then you get back up, play the same game, finish your 3rd lap, and you're done for the race. So it forces that ability to push, 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 calm, focus, breathe, center, execute, shot, rebound, shot, and just when you have to see these guys that are professionals do it, they go from an Olympic pace to a dead stop, dead calm, and they're hitting target after target after target after target.
So how long does that usually take, like, to do that? Like,
For
I'm
which
trying to get a
piece?
mental picture of what a lap is, and I have no idea.
So we have a lap here in town that's a 1 kilometer lap, and then we partner with a company or with a group called VAST, Veterans Adaptive Sports and Training, and they are just to the northwest of Portland, Maine, over the Maine border. And they have a 5,000 acre farm, and the program is run by a former U.S. National team biathlete, Olympian, who was also in the Vermont National Guard when she was an Olympian. So she does this recreational therapy year round over there, and it's one of our partners. So
Okay.
based on how much snow they want, they had a Paralympic #2 in the country at an event that we just helped sponsor last weekend.
Okay.
That dude's going to go kick out a 10K. Somebody like me, I'm going to struggle through 1K and just be
Yeah,
happy with 1 out of 5 and be like, woo, still got it.
it's hard work. I remember all I know about it are, is I tried a Nordic track once.
Yeah.
Again, I was like, and my hip flexors were dead in about 5 minutes. And, I see old ladies doing it, but I couldn't do it. So
Yep.
definitely a hard work. And then, so whitewater rafting, you said you're doing that as well.
Yep. So that moves into the spring. We're not sending veterans down creeks up here, except for those who already know how to do it. But we have a creeking season where the snow melts out, all these little creeks on the side country swell to huge numbers, and it's a lot of fun for those guys to run and drop. So one of the individuals who does that stuff is helping us set up a whitewater program. He's also a veteran, came out of the same town, local kid, went ROTC, and did contracting afterwards. So he's going to be leading some whitewater rafting trips for us.
Okay.
There's fishing and deep sea fishing. So, there's river fishing, lake fishing.
Now you're speaking my language with the deep sea.
Yeah, there we go.
Now I'm back in. Now I get that.
We're out of the snow time. So, you get up here into some of these rock creeks, and you've got to know how to drop a lure in, pull it across, and read the current.
Mm-hmm.
Or we've got nice shallows where you're bass fishing.
Okay.
So you can pick whichever one you want. One of our guys, Hunter and First Cat, he's our fisherman. So he's all over the deep sea fishing, which we did with a group called Northeast Passage down out of UNH. And we had veterans from Vietnam all the way through current era out on a boat together, reeling in cod and haddock and getting ready to go, for a fish fry afterwards. So it's moving into by Memorial Day, the rocks are pretty much clean, and we start doing rock climbing and rappelling. So we partner with the International Mountain Climbing School. They're the same ones who do the ice climbing. And then we partner with them for the spring and the fall to do another group. Last year we had 15 guys from one vet center out of Rhode Island that came up, and we started them off with a 200-foot rappel down to a small outcropping and had them on a fixed rope waiting to come back up, but they were still 300 feet from the bottom of the cliff.
Yeah.
So you came off rope 200 feet down and your heart's doing this.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I don't like heights. I can get through them, did in the military, but, I still get even going over the Skyway Bridge here in Tampa, I still get a little tight, So I imagine it's hard to, I don't know. I mean, I guess I've met some people who can be perfectly comfortable there. I'm not one of them, but I would think that'd be a huge adrenal dump.
It is. Tarps and I were talking about it just the other day about how you get the high from whatever is happening at work or whatever happens in life, and all of a sudden you get that post-fire fight. Oh, I just want to go to bed now.
Yeah. At that adrenal dump, and you sweat it out, and you're having a great time. You probably sleep the best you'll ever sleep after. Yeah. I've been that way, sport fishing. Fighting a shark for 2.5 hours. Feel as soon as you come down off that high, you crash. And I imagine it's like that too. So
it's the best sleep you'll ever have. The first day of the ski season, the first day with those guys out climbing, it's such a high that you come home and at 5 o'clock you're out, and it's the only sleep you get. I've got some pretty disrupted sleep patterns. So when I'm active in these events, I come home and I'm on a wicked high till 10 or 11, 12 o'clock at night. The family goes down, and 2 hours later I am out, just crashed. There's no way to not wake up.
The exercise, the sunlight, because I see a lot of guys a lot of veterans have a hard time. They're not getting out. They're not getting the sunlight. So we've all got insomnia, and I think that's part of it. So you're getting the adrenaline, you're getting the exercise, you're getting the clock set, you're getting your circadian rhythms right. So how did you get into this? How did you start this? Tell me the evolution.
I fell on my face into it. I was in complete denial about my back, in complete denial about PTSD, and I came out, and my wife told me that I just needed to take a break and be a ski bum. And I was like, no, I need a career and I need to be useful. And I came running out and, hit hurdle after hurdle and just, sappered through it, man. Just breach. Eventually just
get a bigger hammer, right?
Pretty much, just more P for plenty, more C4 is always the answer. So eventually it just came to a point where my body gave out, and my wife she's like, will you listen to me now? I'm like, yeah, I'll listen to you now. So I started skiing, and I felt horrible about it because I felt that if I could be skiing, then I should be in the fight. If I'm healthy enough to be going up and down a mountain, then why am I not doing this? So I started really out of my own necessity. I started breaking down and seeing if there were any of these types of programs out there, and there were. And at the time, the Warrior Transition Units were calling it adaptive reconditioning. And the idea was find a sport, adapt it to you. It's going to recondition your mind. There was a whole template, like the 6 different focuses of spiritual, mental, physical, community, family. Like there was a whole piece that I literally sat down and wrote it out. I was like, okay, this makes sense. Now I'm skiing for a purpose, and it's not just me being out goofing off.
Right.
And that fell into golf because I could no longer swing a club hard. I actually had to start focusing on it. I started walking one hole and then getting a ride on the next. And it gave me a focus to start getting out and moving again. So I started writing all these programs out, and I had a nursing degree, and I was a veteran and also had certifications as an instructor. And I called the VA and I called the Home Base Foundation. I called all these other groups. I'm like, hey, I want to work with veterans community. And they're like, no, why not? You're not part of a group. I'm like, well, let me volunteer. Like, no, what can I do? And there was this big black hole at the time. So I continued marching on with the skiing thing. We built a small farm, and my wife found agritherapy and the idea of being out with chickens and, you know, sitting watching a wave or watching little raptors run around and beat each other up for a frog.
Yep.
So it's mind numbing.
I get it. I totally get it. Just seeing nature,
So,
your headspace.
yeah, I mean, so from there, you know, archery, and I was a big hunter, and in the last couple of years, I stopped. I couldn't take the shot, and just sat there and put the rifle back down, pulled out my phone, started taking shots like that instead. So I started doing some photography. Still was enjoying the idea of slinging arrows with the kids, so set up an archery range next to the garden. So going out and shooting every now and then with the kids still keeps me focused on that piece. And you know, if you shoot archery, everything counts. You've got to be so focused in on what you're doing that, again, it draws you into that piece. So I built these.
That whole, I mean, one of the classics, The Zen of Archery, was one of the first books I read trying to understand how I was getting, when I was self-medicating, you know, through jujitsu. And it was like, that came up as a classic book. But they talk about that. You have to really be one with the moment and block everything out. And, you know, and then since then it's become a cottage, the Zen of motorcycle repair, the Zen of this, it's gotten watered down.
Yeah.
But, you know, there is that, you know, and I'm gonna tell myself I've even started doing some yoga, but I hate all the mystical crap that goes with it. Don't spill it.
Broga.
Like,
go for Broga, man. Bring a beer and you put the Broga out.
Says, like, I remember I'm listening, be mindful and really feel the integrity of the movement or whatever that means to you. And then captain of my, you know, former captain's like, you just used a term and then told me to use it, whatever it means to me. And, you know, but I had to get past that, and we'll say new age garbage so I don't offend anybody, and get to, okay, so what I really try to do is get in that space. So you're getting into that space, you're getting focused in that space. And then now, you know, I won't call myself a huge guy, but I'm a pretty big guy. And I try to hit this like T pose in yoga, and I'm unstable, sweating like crazy, just a meathead. And next to me is a 70-year-old lady holding it. And I'm like, okay, this isn't physical. I'm doing something wrong here mentally, because she doesn't look like she could hold herself up. So I was like, okay, let me try and bring it in. And then you get this moment of Zen, this clarity. And, you know, and then it's like, okay, so that's exactly what I've been chasing in jiu-jitsu.
Right.
Body can only take so much jiu-jitsu, so you got to find other ways to do it.
That's the concept. That's it. So, you know, up here we have the 4 seasons plus mud. So we have that 5th season. So the idea of you're finding it in yoga, you're finding it in jiu-jitsu. What are your other 3 or 4 things? I've had 5 surgeries since 2013. So the last 24 months have been spent either in traction or recovering and then surgery again. And so it's just been, I can't do jiu-jitsu. I wasn't able to ski for almost 24 months. I needed to have other stuff in the toolbox. So, you know, the gardening, it hurts to plant. I got into woodworking. You know, all the ranger guys, they all have their walking staffs.
Yep, I had my cousin, so he just got into that. He's the same thing. He's making pens and wine bottle openers. Got him. All I hear about is this Dremel. I watch this. My cousin, you know, she's probably watching this right now. I've heard so much about the Dremel and the damn bowls he's making, but you know what? It makes him happy.
It keeps them
productive. You can sell them online, so it can actually fund. You know, because that's one problem with these hobbies is, depending on, like you mentioned, golf. That's one that, like, I tell people I don't play golf because I can't afford it.
Right.
You know, one of the ways I define wealth, I tell people, is having enough money to do the things you love to do.
Right.
You know? And my hobbies aren't that expensive. Stuff like woodworking, you know, like he's out buying all his special wood. But if you sell that stuff online, it funds it, and then not trying to make a profit. You're just trying to break even.
Right.
You
And
know?
well, we did that with the garden. We did
Yeah, I saw
that this year.
you guys have like a whole. I saw you. I follow your stuff on Facebook, and you've
I'm
got.
drinking it.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so we fell into hot peppers. Yeah, I had a batch, and my wife asked me what we're gonna do with them. I made a batch, and that was another one of those pieces of that, how to reacclimate. And next thing you know, we sold it and we paid for the garden for like 3 years worth of garden stuff in one season of selling the stuff that we made. So that peddler's license is
Farmers
available in New
market
Hampshire.
type stuff.
Oh yeah.
The kitchen cottage industry online. Is that how
Yeah.
you're selling it?
Honestly, we're selling it out of the trunk of a car down at the 7-Eleven, man. It honestly looks like it looks like a bad deal going down. So
Dude, I'm in Florida. Boiled peanuts, side of 60, everywhere you go. Strawberries, mangoes, you pick. They're everywhere. Trust me, we got that here.
that's
It's different.
yes, I mean that's how we're doing it at this point. So it was one of those things we started as a joke, and all of a sudden people are like, yeah, we want it. Well,
Hey,
here you go. We have it. Please, we have a lot of it. So we stumbled into it that way. You're talking about doing the Dremel work, and I did that for the first 2 years I was home. I did a lot of wood burning, a lot of Dremel work, and I burnt through 3 or 4 of the cordless ones before I went and actually bought one that went in and then got the thing over the bench. And next thing you know, I've got caduceus coming down the top of a staff, and it was just sort of,
yeah.
yep. And now if I do it, I just get sawdust everywhere, and the baby eats it. So that hobby's on hold.
There is that issue with the baby. So
There is. So, but if you can build 3, 4, 5, think of them as firewalls, 3, 4, 5 different things that you're in a funk. My wife will come up and ask me hey, what about this for the garden? Because she knows that it'll pull me out of the funk I'm in right now and focus me on that. Or, hey, you said you were going to go make runs. Do you want to go slip out and try and make something? So she knows those little pieces and she recognizes it.
Yeah, it
And
sounds like you got a really good wife there too that spots it. I mean, I've been fortunate in that regard. I've got one, my wife, same way. She'll tell me like, hey, maybe you should go roll. And it usually means I'm either being an asshole or I'm being crabby, or she just wants me out of the house. Like, you should go roll. And it's like, okay, if you're sending me, then probably I need to get out of my headspace. But that
yeah,
sounds like, you've got a really, a really good tether there that not everybody has. Uh,
no,
Something I've been, and I'm going to address in another podcast is those post-military relationships. I tell you, since my wife does a lot of business with military, I'm always around them, and it's most people I know that get divorced after their service. And I
yeah.
think a lot of it's getting in that headspace. Now, I'm not going to go too much into it on this one, but it sounds like you've got the right communication. But
We do,
that
but
tether is
you can't.
important.
It is important, but we're not going to, like you said, this isn't the topic for it, but at the same time, you can't just think that it's an easy thing. And it's
No,
a great relationship, but people need to know that it's still hard. Like, yeah,
absolutely. It's still
she
work.
puts in a lot of work to understand the stuff that I put her through, so
Well, I've talked on some with mine is, that changing role is that, where she's now, her career is the main effort and
yeah,
I'm support role. And I had to, I struggled with that. I had to embrace that because, and these do kind of tie in because, when you get out, especially if you're dealing with injuries, stuff like that, you kind of get into this, either you get on the hamster wheel and you think you've got to keep making money, you've got to keep being the breadwinner. And sometimes I see you actually becomes almost competitive, husbands and wives, over who's the breadwinner, who's the main effort. So you do, we did the left seat, right seat ride. So she took that over. I'm cooking now. That's one of my news and things. I'm loving.
yep,
I never knew, 45 years old, I'm an Instant Pot diva.
yep,
Iris makes fun of me. I'm always posting my Instant Pot recipes, but I love it, so it's, that's one of those things where you get that give and take, that yin and yang. And I see a lot of people in the military, they don't do that, or they start taking their anger out on other people, especially if you're sitting at home. We get so many keyboard warriors, social media warriors, and I'm pretty critical of our own peers in that regard. Is as a veteran, I must know about everything, and my opinion matters. And they just sit there getting angrier and angrier and angrier, posting shit. I think it
unplug.
creates it makes us all look bad when we get like that. But you got to get out of that space.
Yep. mean, when I first came out because I got injured in '07, you and Tars were rolling into Monterey next. I was at Fort Living Room getting surgical consults and getting ready to get cut up. But I started to fall into that, and I didn't go there, but I saw it with the stolen valor sites. Those were huge back in 7, 8, 9.
Disgruntled veterans.
Oh yeah. I think they've changed it now to veteran humor from dysfunctional, but
But that is better though.
It is better. It's a step in the right direction. I think they've realized it too. That we're gonna get back what we put out. If we say that we're crazy, it's like, dude, that's team room joke. That's not. It's not for the street. It's.
Yeah, I've still got my military humor. I've still got my friend. I share them just with military friends.
Yeah.
And that's something that I was going to circle back to what you're doing. So you're getting these guys out on the mountains, and you're getting more. You're getting, if you've been away from that community, you do feel like an alien a lot when you're used to that community. So when you get back to groups like that, even if it's just for a retreat, hey, I'm not. We do get gallows humor.
Yeah.
I get the inappropriate humor. It's stuff my mom wouldn't approve of, but it makes me laugh. Nothing worse than you'd see on South Park, but these days, if you share stuff far and wide, you're going to offend somebody.
Yeah.
So you want to get around guys who get that, guys and girls. And I was going to ask you about that too. So I saw you're doing some stuff for women, and I'm going to put out that
it is. I am not the lead effort on that one. Christina Sabinski, the woman that I was speaking about earlier, who's the biathlete, and one of our board members, Crystal Letourneau, she's going to be the ACF liaison on this. And they've got 15 slots at one of the cabins up on Mount Washington, and they're going to approach it from a couple different directions. They have a program that they have planned, and this is the first year they're launching that. So that is going to be the first female veteran retreat that we do. But there's a need for that. As much as we talk about that humor, there is a unique aspect to having been female in that environment. Yep. And just as much as we like to joke around and have the gallows humor, they still have a necessity to have their own space. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah. Well, my wife just did the military women's conference, and something that I learn a lot through this thing too. It's yes, men can attend, but it's the birthplace of this is she went to a different like a military influencer thing, and the women, she said, they felt like they're kind of an add-on.
Right.
So they said, well, let's do our own. Now, as she's done this, I saw some, I read the bios on some of the guest speakers, and I became, just through side saddle with her, because I kind of stay out of it. But I hear, she hangs up the phone and she gives me the recap, and I become now a little more aware of just how much women are mostly excluded, or they're like, you can do this, but it's not really your thing. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of intimidating for a lot of women. And the amount of, and I know some people get upset when I talk about this, but it's a fact, man, the amount of sexual assault, trauma that comes from that.
Yep.
I see why you wouldn't want men there at all. It's something that I was kind of, I kind of took that for granted, but now I'm more aware of it. And so, and then right after that, I saw yours, and it was like an all women's retreat. It's like, wow, boom, those line up perfect. And, as I'm learning, I see that. So it's run by a woman there. That's an all women retreat. So what is that one?
So that one is, all the programming that we do is actually free to the veteran itself. So the veterans will come in. It's going to be running in August. Man, I do not have the specific dates in front of me, and I'm pretty sure they already have a waiting list ready for this thing. Mm-hmm. But this last month, we finalized the cabin dates through the Appalachian Mountain Club. We've got the two coaches, so to speak, that are lined up to lead the thing in. And they're still coming back with us what their program is going to be for that night. There's talk about doing a clover leaf out, possibly doing some, star watching or whatever they're going to be doing up on top of the hill. So Christina and Crystal are the two that are really working that piece out. And like I said, we're looking forward to it. And 2 weeks before that, we're doing a presidential traverse, which is the Mount Washington range has some of the worst weather in the world. at least recorded. So you start on one side, climb straight up into the top of it, and then you're ridge running for another day to another hut. And then on the third day, they're dropping off. So we're doing a straight traverse. And then 2 weeks later, we're coming back for just this women's retreat. So not separate but equal, but we're making sure that we
Yeah.
parse out a piece so that they have an event like that.
Right. I mean, it's like, there's this misnomer that like, oh, it's a women's event. It's going to have to be a she shed and pink. And that's obviously not the case.
No,
Just no men,
no.
which makes sense, but it's awesome you're doing that because I was reading and I think you commented on it about the homelessness for female veterans and how that gets overlooked and how high that is. And, it's like we're just now, starting to really, I think, as a group address that, hey, women have specific issues for post-traumatic or veteran issues that aren't necessarily the men's issues and they don't necessarily go together. And you don't want anything that's going to make them feel excluded because it's hard enough to go get into those groups as it is. So
here we are, two guys with beards, talking about women's issues. We need to talk about them. We need. I've got 4 daughters and a wife, and I'm
no boys, just girls. So I learn.
Man, karma is coming back. So, women are a minority in the military, and in the civilian side, there's studies that have shown that women, they call up to do an interview, and I can't remember, there was a piece that I read that so women called up and they were getting shut down, so they started to call up and say, I'm calling on behalf of Mr. So-and-so. And they would get the answers they wanted.
No kidding.
It's if I can find it, I'll ship it over to you, man. It was insane that they started saying that they were the secretaries, even though they were the CEOs.
Just to get the information.
They got more done. So you've got a minority group that's part of a marginalized slice of our society. It's that there, like you said, there's a lot of things that we as men, and I came from all male units. I came from the combat engineer side. So this is back in 06, 04, 02, 01, where combat engineers still weren't integrated yet. So it was all male units. I was completely blind to it all the way up through captain. I didn't have, it wasn't something I saw.
One of my wife's co-workers is, she's Marine Corps Military Spouse of the Year and now the Armed Force Military Spouse of the Year. Holly Vega, great person. Because I know Holly now, I see her stuff for the mil spouse stuff. And the other day, kind of out of the blue, and this was like a moment, a self-check moment, is they had one of the people competing for this next mil spouse was a man. And my first thought was, a dude. And then I'm like, I had to check myself. I'm like, that's my own bias creeping back in.
Yep.
There's, and of course, I've been a big champion with, like, we just had the first woman get through special forces. And, I've been like, look, we have several women on the team who kick my ass on a regular basis. I've been choked unconscious pretty much by women plenty of times. So I'll tell you, I'm here to tell you that I am all for gender equality. I've had my ass kicked by men and women. But I still get caught off guard and I see that stuff because, male mil spouses also get excluded. So we've got to kind of address that. Can you give me 1 second?
Don't worry about it.
I'll be right back.
So confident your idea is better without even hearing mine. You're right. I'm sorry. Let's do this.
All right, I'm back.
No worries.
I've got one of those smart TVs that just cuts on the TV sometimes. So I was like, cut me off. It's hard to concentrate. So So as I was saying, we get you get mil spouses also. So when they have a mil spouse event and then a man shows up,
yep,
it throws off. So we all have to learn because I think the women will exclude the men from that. So learning curve for everybody.
It is for everybody, and it's for everybody. We're all learning, and that's the part that everybody has to remember on this piece. It's a learning curve. The fact that we're talking about it is an important piece. The fact that other people are listening is an important piece. It needs to be out in the front.
So if I wanted to take advantage, I want to learn about, like, I've never been skiing, say I've never been freshwater fishing. Is there an experience level expected to take part in this?
No, that's the idea of it, is that we're ready to take you if you're a never ever, or if you're a skilled person. So we actually have set up an idea of doing some pathfinders. And the idea of a pathfinder is that for example, yourself, you're a veteran who is good standing with your community. You're doing a sport and you're trying to grow the sport and you're trying to reach out to veterans. Your sport happens to be jujitsu. We don't have anybody that does jujitsu. Let's get a guy that wants to champion jujitsu for veterans. Let's make him a pathfinder that's out front. Let's support him in his endeavor to build that up as a program. So if you're an expert and you know what you're doing, man, we want more of these programs to spring up across the country. We don't care whose name is on it. We partner with everybody. The idea is to get more veterans off the couch and out of their own head. So
last week I talked to a friend of mine, Jason Reyes, and I wasn't expecting this to come to the conversation. I was actually when I was asking like if I've never been skiing before, but you know, that's how these conversations go. So he's a black belt, you know, credentialed. So if you were looking to get into a program, you guys are at least a resource to reach out to.
Right.
Like, how do I get something started?
Right. We can give, you know, Eric and Mark, the guys who started this thing up, they started up one and it ran into problems and then they rebooted with a new group. And here we are running 24 months later, and we've grown from 3 programs the first year, or 3 activities the first year, to 12. This year we're looking at 18 to 20 plus. So just the idea of being able to, how do you stand that up? What are some of the hurdles you go through? Finding a 501c3 and teaming up with them
It's
is
way easier. Way easier.
so much easier because they'll coach you through it.
And it's a lot of paperwork and it's a lot of work to get started. You got to set up your board.
It's a 2-year process.
Find someone who has one already and you can just spring back on it.
Right.
And yeah, it's way easier to do it. Plus,
It
it's
is.
your organization because it grows, you know, it increases your outreach.
Right.
So, but if I've never been skiing, if I've never been freshwater fishing, do you guys have a place for beginners in there, or is it?
Right. So if the deep sea fishing, you're going to go out, Ben will be out there, the guys that are on the boat. So we end up taking an entire charter boat and we paid for half of it. New England Passage paid for half of it. We put these guys out on the boat. They go out. You've got the boats, the mates that are out there helping you do the stuff, as well as other veterans to your left and right that are coaching you. When we take you up on top of a cliff, we're not going to let other veterans, you know, buddy them. I got this. The barracks lawyer, you know, just go back.
Risk assessment.
You tied it, you ride it. Not cool. So
mattresses on the bottom, Wile E. Coyote style.
The spring down bottom, you'll hit it. So in those situations, as the criticality goes up, the amount of overwatch from the professionals increases. So if you're a never ever, I would take you out, or if you wanted to snowboard, our guy Ben would take you out. We're both level 2 instructors through PSA Aussie, so we're trained at healthy folks. Ben's got his adaptive stuff. That was supposed to be in my pipeline this year, but I'm still recovering. But the idea is that we can get you out and get you started underneath our own power.
Because so I know that there's the veterans who are going to look at this, say, hey, I want to check it out. But then the other side is like your spouse, a spouse who says, I need to get my veteran out of the house. He's never done this stuff, gaining weight, getting upset. We got to get him going. So they can also reach out then and sign up as well then.
So at this point, so if you go to www.acfne.org, that's just the quickest one to get there. It'll drop you right into our homepage and it shows you what we've got coming up. There's a part for events that'll show you what's coming up as well. As we roll into mud season, we have our annual meeting in 2 weeks, which is where we will officially set the schedule for the rest of the year.
What is mud season? Because I don't know what that means.
In between snow and spring.
Okay.
Nothing's growing. It's freezing at night. It's melting in the day, and it's mud.
Kazakhstan
on it. What's that?
Like when you're going through Kazakhstan or Kyrgyzstan.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Permafrost is melting. Yeah.
All the time. Everything was always wet. There was standing water, and then it was ice in the morning. You'd land on your butt.
Yep.
Welcome to New England, man. So
that's mud. We don't have a mud season.
You have like hurricane season and sunny.
Yeah,
season.
we got us. I just wanted to make sure I understand. So during mud seasons, when you do your planning.
Yeah, mud season is sort of a downtime. The trails are too soft to ride, so you'll screw them up if you're out there on a bike. The snow is pretty much melting, so you're having to hike and go for it, which means that we can still do stuff, but we need higher end training, higher end gear. So it becomes a downtime between but that March, April period, and all of a sudden May hits and we're right back at it with rock climbing and fishing and, buckle up, Buttercup. So it
So
gets
you
busy.
guys have the gear for them to use. They don't have to have their own gear.
No, we rent it out. So last summer we helped get a squad that had returned from a bad deployment, so to speak, and they got out into the Cascades with professional guides that had the gear for them. We paid for the rentals, and they were gone for a couple of days up onto some high peaks to reset before they went back into their next training and deployment cycle. So we set them up with the gear that they need. When we do the climbing up here for international mountain climbing sports, we start off at their schoolhouse. They get their safety briefing. They pick which place we're going depending on who we have and the number we have. Then we head out for the day. The school itself brings all the gear and the climbing. When we do the biathlon over at Vast, they have all the rental skis because they're a fully operational Nordic and farm and the whole 9 yards. So same thing with the boats. They have the rods on the boat for you. So if you're going deep sea fishing, and then
I've done the charters. I've got that. They usually, they help that out, but I've
Yep.
never done I know. I saw one of your videos on Azimuth Check. You guys just hooked a dude up with some skis or something like that.
Yeah, some outriggers. So his boss reached out to me, said, hey, do you know so-and-so, Bruce? I'm like, yeah. Well, Bruce needs a pair of outriggers, hasn't been skiing all year. Can you help him out? Yeah, let's help him out. Went up, sized them up, got him a new set, or got him a pair of loaners from one of our partners. He's went out the next day because he was working the first day. We went out the very next day, and he skied for 2 hours that afternoon. Just grin was pinned ear to ear. And, you can see him on the lift when the first time, like, hey, he's just happy to be out there. There's some parts of the video that I cut. He's like, there's nobody on the lift to see me, man. Like, he just loves to get out there. And, somebody's sitting there, he's like, hey, if I can do it, you can do it, because he's on 1 foot.
That's what I was about to ask, because it looked like he was an amputee.
An amputee. Yeah. So he's an amputee, and he's out there on 1 ski with these outriggers, which are basically skis on the end of a pair of arm canes. And he is out making turns on these outriggers and 1-footed. I get tired in that stuff on 2 feet.
Well, man, so you get out there, that's an important piece in there. So, like people who aren't fully capable, like you've had your bad back, but I know you're getting out there now, and I saw your surgery. Is it just because, I think a lot of this, we think that, okay, well, song used to really bother me. It used to get in my head was that song, Half the Man I Used to Be by Stone Temple Pilots. Man, I'd be laid up because I've had like 5 back surgeries, and I'd be laid up, and that song comes on. You start thinking like, I used to be a cool guy, former action guy, and I'm half the man I used to be. But that doesn't mean you still can't get out there and do that shit. So getting off your ass and seeing it, like, wow, I can do this. Like with jiu-jitsu, we get old people, we get people who are missing, limbs. They still make it happen. And, I use the term punch my man card, which I don't love the term, but I get what they're saying.
Right.
Is, hey, I'm not less than, I'm just different now. And you can get out there, you can ski, you can fish, you can hike, you can do all this shit, you can shoot, you don't need 2 arms to shoot. You just need to learn how to do it different.
Right.
So you got to take care of it. I think that's such a big piece with the depression with the people I've talked to, is realizing I'm still capable, I can still get out and do this. I got to learn to do it different.
That's the adaptive part. Adapt it to what you can do now. That's where it doesn't mean that you're using adaptive equipment all the time. It means that you have a limitation of one thing or another. Find a technique that works for you.
Yeah, work around the problem. You can still do it. You just got to work around. You got to be creative.
Exactly. That's
cool. So your website is what, acfne?
Yeah. .org.
.org. I saw you're on Facebook. I imagine on the other social media platforms as well.
Yep. LinkedIn, Facebook. I don't know if we have a Instagram account, but I know that we don't Twitter. We stay away from Twitter.
Yeah. I just set up an account and I regret it. I hate Twitter, but
there's TikTok, Click Clack. Who knows? So
second video. I had we got a 14-year-old girl on the team who just explained to me what TikTok is. And I was like, I don't even care. It's not for me. I'll never be on it.
The Visco. I heard Visco for the first time. I didn't know what that was. Maybe it's a Northeast thing.
I heard that one too. That's a new one. I can't keep up. Apparently, Facebook is for old people, and I'm an old person. But
I'm happy being an old person at this point.
business on Facebook. I don't pay for ads. It works out just fine. So you get on, you get with you on there, and so if someone wants to check it out, they can get on there, can figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
And is there anything? Any kind of what do you need to prove they're a veteran? Do you need anything like that?
If they've got an ID card, so when you're doing this stuff, you've got to run a fine line. You do an intake, and man, if you're taking sensitive information, such as ID cards and stuff, you're responsible for that information. So, do you want somebody's DD-214? Do you want somebody's medical records? I don't. If they've got an ID card,
and I don't need to see it.
Yep, you got it. Cool, man. I don't need to see where you've been to prove you've got a card. That's the government's job. So at this point, the process is, hey, we want to get involved. Great. What are you looking to do? And it's small enough that we can go back and forth and why don't you come up for this or come up for that? We're in the process of developing an actual form to fill out saying, hey, I want to do this in an order of merit, but we're not there yet. The hardest part we've had with all of these is trying to get people to show up.
I started doing some veteran jujitsu. I was working with a local nonprofit, and the biggest issue I had was it was free. People don't show up. My coach, actually, he was like, he kind of let me go through the learning pains myself. I guess he's tried to do stuff like that before. So when it's completely free, I don't know. People act like, I think there's an investment piece. Like, and I know there have been times I didn't, like, you join a gym, you've been paying $20 a month. Like, well, I got to get my $20 for it.
Right. So
there is a fine line where I never wanted to charge for it, but how do you get people to honor their commitment? That's tricky because you only got so many slots, right?
You do. And so we've got processes now where we call back and we check in, and a lot of our partners call and check in. And the bigger events we do, like we help a group called NEDS pay for their what they call the White Mountain Warfighter experience, where it's a 5-day retreat with the veteran and their care provider or their spouse, and they're up here learning to do fly fishing and golf, and they're trying all of these different events, 2 to 3 events per day for 5 days, to see what they can learn and like and bring back home with them. So when we have those bigger events, those folks show up. But when sometimes we'll have a 40-60% no-show rate. That's hard.
It's painful.
It's painful as can get. And another one that we did is I worked with a local ski area up here, and we had 100 spots with instructors and rentals and everything ready to go, and we got 17 people.
Oh, and then you feel bad because they're giving you their time too, and
they're giving up all that time, and all of a sudden 17 people show up. And I was in touch with IAVA. It was a vet together. It was one of the first events I did, and we were doing the back briefing, and I was like, I had 17. They're like, oh my God, 17. I'm like, 17, that's it. And they're like, yeah, but you got 17. That's a big event.
Yeah.
And when they said that, I started thinking, oh no, this isn't me. This isn't local. This is us as a veteran community.
There's no buy-in.
Show up.
The depression, getting their ass off the couch. If there's travel involved, work comes up. I mean, all these things. But if you put money down, and I'm just spitballing because I thought like maybe I could do like a deposit or a charitable donation because I never want to handle the money. And that was the piece I haven't cracked yet is how do I get the buy-in, the skin in the game. And because you are putting your time out there and just the time it takes you to get to the top of the mountain, and you're like, where is everybody? So that's the piece I personally haven't figured out. That's what's held me back was that initial, it was depressing. Drive an hour to go. I found a place to do it, drive an hour. People say they're going to be there. They don't show up. And like, what am I doing? I take my instruction,
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. So just to wrap it up, Azimuth Check Foundation, they can go on Facebook, they can go on the website, and also people who are looking to maybe add to it, maybe add their own program and are interested in talking to you guys about that, they can also reach out to you. And any parting shots?
At this point, not yet, man. I'm sure that we will be talking about other stuff once it comes back online with the rural veteran suicide prevention stuff. That's in the wings. I had a meeting with the state's Suicide Prevention Council subcommittee on veteran affairs. Everything has long names nowadays. So there's a lot of stuff coming up. So New Hampshire's got some pretty cool things. I'm not sure how much of it is national versus how much of it is state. But some good stuff coming up.
All right, man. Well, hey, dude, I'm going to wrap this up. Thanks a lot for being on here, and I'm going to have you back on once you're ready to talk about the next thing. And thanks for your time, Ray.
Hey, thank you. I'll talk to you later.
Awesome. Thanks.
Bye.